You're listening to Sunglasses, a podcast where we get to see life through God's lenses as His children. I'm your host, Samuel, and together, we'll uncover how God's presence shines through life's tiniest details. So, let's take off the shades, put on our sunglasses, and see what our Father is revealing in today's episode.
Hey Sunglasses family, welcome back. And if this is your first time here, congratulations, you're officially part of the family now. No initiation required, just a change of lenses. First off, a big shout out to everyone who tuned in to the last episode, Shoot Your Shot. I really loved hearing and reading the feedbacks from you, my amazing people, and I don't mind even getting more. I can't wait to honestly see how we are all growing together, taking bold steps, trusting God, and learning to see through His lenses. And honestly, me releasing that first episode and showing up again today is one of my own big and bold steps. Instead of sitting in fear, wondering what would happen, I rather just stepped out in faith and find out, and I'm still finding out what God can do through my little act of obedience. So if you haven't listened to Shoot Your Shot yet, I'll say no wahala. You can check it out after this one. But for now, let's get into today's gist. Alright, so before we dive headlong into what we have for today, I'll start by saying, we listen, we don't judge. We listen, we don't judge. Yeah, I know that, some coconut heads would have put on their judge cap now, and it's fine. Even me, I put on my judge cap and I've judged myself and I've removed it, and now I'm in place of mercy and I'm doing all the microphone right now. So thank you once again for joining me in listening to my story. And if you judge me, remember, judge not, for you shall be judged. However, scratch it, don't worry about it. Let's get into what we have for today. So I'll take you Sunday school in church recently on the topic in room. Few of our RCG people that have been in Sunday school would have been in this particular lesson, the waiting room. And one of the definitions that really stood out to me was that the waiting room was described as the space between crying for a change and God's response to that cry. And that definition reminded me of an experience that I had in my 300 level days, which was also the COVID year, the year after COVID, 2021. And it felt like it was a possible situation, but looking back now, I'm just grateful that it happened. So let me say this thing. It was exam week. Remember, COVID period. I had to write 11 courses in 6 days, and that meant 2 courses per day. In fact, the only course that was one for the day spanned from around 8 a.m. to around 5 p.m. that day. And so it meant that, a lot of people were lagging behind in reading for 2 courses every day, and it was really a tough one. So it meant that there were possibilities that people were not even properly prepared for the exams and everything. But you sleep, you won't even get enough sleep and so on and so forth. But then, as God, somebody that God has, helped to an extent, there were high chances that people were able to ask me questions when they get stuck in the exam hall, because they believe that I would know it. I thank God. Even though sometimes I know it's not it, I thank God. And most of the times I don't like the thought of somebody could actually fail because I chose not to help them in the exam or in their moment of need, moment of dire need. A friend in need is a friend in need, right? I don't know if that applies in that situation, but once again, we listen, we don't judge. So the thought of the fact that this person can get a 49 when I can just answer and help this person get a 50, or person can get a 69 when I can answer and help them get an A. So I'd end up answering. So on the last day of the exam, we had 2 major papers. It was a Saturday. About statistics in the morning, epidemiology in the afternoon. For about statistics in the morning, my roommate and I had set a formation. Samuel sits in front of everybody, and the person behind him, let's call the person A, sits directly behind him, and then person B directly behind person A, person C directly behind person B. And so it was a thing of person A has equal eyes. So Samuel's responsibility is not to cover his script so that person B can pick his answers, and then person C can pick from person B, and so on and so forth. You get the flow. And so when that was done, I'd literally just giving everybody a study pass to success because I was. And so the next paper was epidemiology, and the context behind this is the fact that a lot of people have failed epidemiology in the past, and I was very averagely prepared for this epidemic. I didn't even know what I was going to come and write in the exam. I didn't know what I was going to do. In fact, as we finished about statistics, I just ran to go and try to pick one or twos and not just be totally blank. But then I was also feeling bad about the fact that, Sam, why will you do this to yourself? And I think I should add that first. I have recently just been appointed as the Bible study secretary of my fellowship at that time. And so, you want to imagine a scenario where all of us are in the exam hall and then they ask somebody to stand up for cheating in the exam hall. Most of the time, the funny thing is, a person where they supply the answers, the person they are supplying to gets to go scot-free eventually. So imagine a situation where or they ask somebody to stand up in the exam hall for cheating, and then you look up and then you see your Bible study secretary of your fellowship. How does that sound? About right? Anyways, we listen, we don't judge. I try to pray to God and say, God, please, I don't want to do this again. I don't want to ask or be asked in the exam hall. Please help me. Honest, as much as I prayed, under my breath and with all sincerity of heart, I still had a plan B. What's the plan B? In case of emergency, if I get stuck, especially as it's a cause I don't really know what I might need help. I might need the help of the people around me. So I'm like, I would stay around to so people, I'll be able to ask them if I get stuck, and so on and so forth. Faith is good, but wisdom is also profitable to direct, right? Shall we listen? We don't judge, right? But God answered my prayer. Because what happened was, I had not even started the exam yet. No papers had been shared. I wasn't talking to anybody. I was just sitting down and looking and waiting for the next step. And then the invigilators just singled me out and said, "You come and sit down in front." And I went to get down in front row. To my left and to my right and to my back are people not from my department. And to my front are lecturers that are invigilating the course. I cannot do anything here. God, why me? Why do you do this to me? And so, it was just a thing of me, push a paper, and my God, in that moment. And I was shocked. And I remember I prayed, I asked God to help me not to cheat. And so he had just actually really helped me not to cheat. The only problem was I had a plan B, because I knew I was not prepared enough. And so what God did was, He just set me free, put me on my own. And when the result came out, I passed. That was in hindsight, right? But in the moment, I realized that God had not just answered my prayer, He had also removed my plan B. He knew that even though I said I didn't want to rely on people, I would have still given it a thought. In fact, I would have still done it as long as I was around them. Because truth be told, when I was answering the question, there were times I wished that I should just have somebody to ask. And I will do many Father as a thought, Father that mother that, and I pick something, and Holy Spirit hope is correct. So it just took every option away and left Himself with. And so what's the lesson? It's the fact that when we talk about the waiting room, we usually picture it as this long, painful season of waiting, but sometimes God answers immediately. It just doesn't look like what we expected. I thought I needed a situation where I wouldn't feel tempted to ask anyone or answer anyone. But God knew I needed to be completely separated from that environment. And that's how God works. When we ask for His help, He may not always respond the way we want. Instead, He responds in the way that truly sets us free. So you may be in a waiting room right now, crying for a change. But what if God has already answered? What if you are resisting it because it doesn't look like what you want? What if the very thing you are frustrated about is actually God's mercy in this guy? Think about it. You are praying for a better job and instead you lose the one that you have. At first it feels like the worst thing ever, but what if God is clearing space for something great? Imagine you are praying for deeper friendships, only for certain relationships that you held in the highest esteem to start falling apart. Maybe God is just actually making space for the right people to enter into your life. Students, we pray for academic success and suddenly the toughest professor in the whole department becomes the person taking it, or you begin to encounter the highest course of your life. Could it be that God is just building resilience in you? Sometimes we ask God to help us grow spiritually, and then all the shortcuts and every way that we know begins to fail because He just wants you, and He wants you to stand in integrity. Sometimes it might be a relationship, looking for clarity, hoping for reconciliation, you are going through conflicts, and then the relationship ends. Could it be that God is preparing something way healthier for you? Maybe your finances, you pray for financial stability, but instead you experience a setback. Could it be that God is teaching you why stewardship before blessing you with more? Or let's say you ask God for patience and suddenly life gets more frustrating. Maybe He's not giving you patience instantly. Maybe He's giving you opportunities to practice the patience that He's giving. So you see, sometimes God is answering, but we don't like the way He looks. So the real question is, are we seeing things through our own limited lens, or are we willing to see them through God's perspective? So let's put on our sunglasses and find out, what do we see when we put on our sunglasses? First, we see that God's answer isn't always delayed, it just may look different. You may think He's silent, but He's already moving. Isaiah 55 verse 8 to 9 says, "My thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord." It reminds me of the lyrics from Waymaker. Even when I don't see it, You're working. Even when I don't feel it, You're still working. But this time, you'll feel it. It may not be palatable. It may not look how you expected, but the discomfort itself and everything that surrounds it is most likely a proof that God is at work. God isn't slow. He's not absent. He isn't figuring things out as He goes. He controls time. Scripture even tells us that sometimes before we call, He has already made provisions for the answer. And so the main thing is adjusting your own lenses to see what aspect of God's nature, where is God's fingerprint in all of this? How does this, correlate with Scripture at times? And so what is one clear evidence that is already in action? With our sunglasses on, we see that He removes our plan B. Sometimes He has to take away our safety nets so we can finally stand on Him. We may call it losing control, but He calls it building trust. Proverbs 3 verse 5 to 6 says, "Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He'll direct your path." Emphasis on all your ways, all your ways. And that's why James 1 verse 6 tells us that anyone who doubts is like a wave of the sea, blown and tossed by the wind. He goes on to say that such a person shouldn't expect to receive anything from the Lord. And so most times, in God's infinite mercy and divine providence, He goes ahead of us to ensure that our backup plans, our emergency exits, our just in case options, it's just like I did, I had a plan B, don't become the very things that block us from receiving His answers. And finally, with our sunglasses on, we see that when God isolates us, it's not punishment, it's preparation. The moment we feel alone may actually be the moment God is setting us apart for something greater. Deuteronomy 31 verse 8 says that the Lord Himself goes before you and will be with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. If I had looked at that moment in the exam or through my own lenses, I could have thought, this is it. This is the payback for my sins. This is my punishment for all the times I gave and received answers before. But God wasn't trying to punish me. He was preparing me. I thought I needed the help of those I had assisted in other courses, because this was the one time I probably needed the help the most. But God wanted me to experience what it was like to be helped by Him alone. And guess what? He did help me. I passed. In fact, I had a strong B. Nobody in my own class had an A B. Anyways, I don't pride in that. But yeah, it just happened like that. And I'm grateful regardless. And from that day, something shifted. I became more disciplined in exam hall. I stopped asking for help. I barely even answered people anymore, except for some occasions that, maybe I'll share another day. So now the real question is, what situation in your life looks like a problem or might actually be an answered prayer? I have a challenge for you. What if the thing frustrating you is actually your answer? What if God has already moved and you're just struggling to see it? Maybe that closed door was protection. Maybe that delay was redirection. Maybe that unexpected shift was God moving you into something better. Take a moment, put on your sunglasses, scan your life through God's lenses. What do you see now? Can you see His fingerprints on the situation? Can you recognize His wisdom, His protection, His love, even in the things that don't seemingly seem to be going your way at the moment? Because once you start seeing through His lenses, you realize He's been there and He's been in action all along. And so until next time, don't take off your sunglasses. Ciao.
Thank you for tuning in to Sunglasses. If this episode blessed you, please share it with a friend, leave a review, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a moment and other people can discover this too. Follow the podcast on Instagram at SunglassesBar to stay connected and explore how we can keep spotting God in life's tiniest details. Until next time, keep your sunglasses on, and remember, when you see through God's lenses, everything starts to make sense. See you soon.